Mr. Speaker. I just have a couple of simple questions here. It really is quite perplexing. Who's been in power for the last 10 years? Who passed legislation that shut down pipeline expansion and development? Who put in the no-tanker ban? Who brought in all of these types of legislation that have constricted our economy, held back our economy, and talked down our oil, gas, and natural resource and energy sector for 10 years? It wasn't this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, it was that side of the House. Now all of a sudden they want us to believe that they've had a backflip and a road to Damascus, that they now believe in energy development? I wonder if they can please explain this to the people's House. Good.
Well, folks, we are officially at the end of the week and the start to the parliamentary summer vacation, and yes, they will be taking it. I think the Liberals are going to be needing it to hide because a lot more people are starting to realize what's really going on with them. So without further ado, let's get into that. Now, to get things started, we're going to be taking a look at this photo that was posted by the gentleman in the opening there, Richard Bragdon. He posted this yesterday saying, "It was great to have Canadians for Affordable Energy President and former Liberal MP Dan Mateague, who we've played many times on this channel, deliver a petition signed by over 10,000 Canadians asking the government to build a west to east pipeline." Now, in my opinion, I don't think the government should be involved in the actual construction. Obviously, it should be a private entity, but I get the sentiment. That's great to have that sort of support. And this falls down into the whole purview of what's going to be happening today, which is the vote for Bill C5. This will help move forward pipeline building and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of the conservatives who actually wanted to stay and work through the summer, all of their committees basically turned it down because of the Liberal vote. You had Larry Brock, you had Shannon Stubbs, you even had this video from Garnet Genuous who was talking about it. We can play some of this.
Hi everyone, we just wrapped up the first committee of HUMA, and really a surprising turn of events. We're in the middle of a major student unemployment crisis. 1 in 5 students are unemployed, and in good faith we put forward a motion to do a summer study of the summer student unemployment crisis. We believe that parliamentarians should be willing to get to work over the summer so that students can get to work as well. Now, the Liberals initially said they were willing to do the study, but they wanted to change the date. We wanted the hearings to be completed by the end of July. They said the end of September. We tried to propose some modifications to that. In the end, they got what they wanted completely on date. The committee agreed to extend the date to the end of September. And then at the end of the meeting, they voted against doing the study at all, and they voted to adjourn the meeting right away. I asked, can we come to some consensus? Can we figure out how to do this in a way that you would agree? And they voted to adjourn and ran for the hills. Really shocking. Parliament didn't sit until May 26th of this year. It's going to adjourn at the end of this week. So we said, at least let's get committees back to work so that we can study the student unemployment crisis. Liberals opposed any study of the student unemployment crisis in order to protect their summer. Then they voted to adjourn the meeting right away. Just unbelievable behavior by the Liberals at this first committee meeting. Clearly, the Carney Liberals are not at all concerned about the student unemployment crisis. They're not willing to study it, even on the timeline that they proposed. This is just the same old Liberal committee tactics of refusing to work collaboratively, refusing to study the big issues, and prioritizing their own time off over the work that needs to be done to help students get back to work.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but haven't the Liberals and Mark Carney been talking about what a crisis we are in? Wouldn't it be pertinent for us to actually be working through the summer, or at least meeting up a few times in the summer for these committee hearings to check out youth unemployment, crime, housing, all this kind of stuff? But no, the Liberals continuously voted to adjourn these meetings to get to their summer vacation quicker. And on the topic of this youth unemployment, this Substack actually was written last Sunday, where it talked about Canada's youth in data. There's no demographic that is having a harder time in Canada than our younger generation. For some reason, Canada is developing and proceeding with almost zero care for the next generations. Youth are facing incredible economic challenges in entering the workforce, affordability, and even education becoming a question of ability. Youth not in employment, education, and training, also known as NEET, is an indicator that is used worldwide to assess the risk of social disconnection and exclusion among youth during their transition from education to employment. During the 2020-2021 pandemic year, NEET rates rose to the highest level in 20 years at 13.2%. Now, if we go down here, we can see this little graph that this guy's done. Just in unemployment, look at the rates here from May 2023 to 2024 and May 2024 to 2025. This is insane. Yet the Liberals aren't even willing to meet a few times during the summer to just have a committee to talk about it, see maybe what they can do to fix it. And a lot of people are now starting to realize that the Liberals have been saying a lot of things and doing the complete opposite. So much so, even the CBC is going after them. Take a listen to what happened yesterday on Rosemary Barton's show, where Althea Raj kind of rips into it. And I'm going to be playing some clips here so you can see what I'm talking about.
I think that number one thing is the commercial relationship. And you see that because the entire rhetoric of the campaign, the elbows up, we're taking the fight to Donald Trump, disappeared after the election was over.
President Trump is trying to break us so that America can own us. That will never happen. I can tell this crowd alone will stop that from happening. Or we've got reinforcements across the country. We got reinforcements across the country. You know, elbows up. That's right. There should be.
The Prime Minister is very complimentary to the President, who obviously loves that.
And this is the 50th birthday, if you will, of the G7. This marks the 50th birthday of the G7. And the G7 is nothing without U.S. leadership. And your personal leadership of the United States, many issues, geopolitics, economic, technology, and working hand in hand with the United States, Canada and the United States, and the other G7 partners with your leadership. I'm very much looking forward to the meeting. I'm grateful to have you here. Nostalgia isn't a strategy. We have to change with the times and to build a better world. And some of you, such as you, Mr. President, have anticipated these massive changes and are taking bold measures to address them.
For commercial reasons, because he thinks that sucking up to Donald Trump will get us the best deal.
Now, I can get behind what Althea Raj is trying to say there, that this is why Carney's doing what he's doing to get the best deal possible. Sure. But the question then is it actually working? Are we getting any sort of deal? Because we still have tariffs on us, our auto industry is still getting hammered, and our economy is not doing so well. Even David Cochrane brought up on his show yesterday the fact that, you know, we hear a lot of this rhetoric, especially during the campaign from Carney, saying that we could do better without the U.S., but we are so integrated. And even Rob Fife from the Globe and Mail, who was one of the guests, acknowledged that.
But, you know, when the Prime Minister says we can give ourselves far more than any other country can take away, I get the rhetorical argument there, but boy, that U.S. economy is just so massive and so big, and I just don't know if interprovincial trade barriers and finding domestic procurement options for steel and aluminum can offset just what, you know, the further erosion of that economic relationship can do.
Look, you're absolutely right. I mean, Mark Carney can talk as tough as he wants, but the fact of the matter is, you know, almost 80% of our trade is south of the border. We have to try to live through the Donald Trump years, and we can't just overnight diversify our trade to India or China or anywhere else in the world, or Europe for that matter. It's just the economies are too integrated.
Now, I gotta say, it starts to get really frustrating listening to these guys talk, because this is simply an I told you so moment. We've been saying this since prior to the election. As soon as Mark Carney was kind of brought into the folds of this whole thing, we all said that this was going to be worse than Trudeau. But everyone was all, Mark Carney, the big banker, the economist, he's going to get us out of all this chaos. He's the crisis manager guy. Yet, even now they are starting to realize that he says a lot of stuff, is doing the complete opposite, to the point where they're saying if the Conservatives did anything that he has already implemented, the Liberals would be up in arms. And I'm quite surprised that I'm not hearing a lot more Liberals up in arms. But listen to them complain about this again on the CBC, on Rosie Barton's show. And Althea Raj basically says they don't care about Canadians. Take a listen.
Do you think the government doesn't really care because they're riding so high in public opinion polls and they're not worried about it, and it's the summer and Canadians are not paying attention? But what's really kind of troublesome about this is, if the Conservatives introduced bills like this, the Liberals would be up in arms and protesting. And so it's really hypocritical.
On top of which, it's not just C5. There's 3 bills now that the government's put forward, and they have several things in common. One is they're all omnibus bill. They yoke together vastly different types of legislation and demand Parliament pass them at one go. Secondly, they often involve, in a couple of cases, violations of privacy rights or individual rights that the government seems quite high-handed and unconcerned about. And thirdly, they involve trampling on the rights of Parliament. This is right. Henry VIII legislation is this kind of thing. Henry C5 is called. Basically, is empowering cabinet to just ignore Parliament. That's not what our system is supposed to be about. You would hope that it would be based on what is the cost and benefit of the legislation of the project for the country and for the national interest. If the Conservatives had brought forward legislation like any of this, C2, C4, or C5, the Liberals would quite properly be screaming blue murder.
Now, it is extremely hilarious to see how annoyed these guys are with this quote-unquote new Liberal government. And Mark Carney, I think these guys had a lot higher hopes for what to expect from this guy and this so-called new government, even though it is the exact same government. But since today is the last day of Parliament, they are going to be trying to push a lot of these bills that they've been talking about here through. I believe Bill C4 and C5 will be voted on today, possibly even Bill C2. But with Bill C5, the danger is, of course, the sweeping powers that we've been talking about for the past few videos. There was a lot of amendments that did go through that the Conservatives got through with the last 2 days of committee hearings, which has been awesome. So I think they will be potentially voting on this bill. But when this panel was recorded, Althea Raj again put out more concern about Bill C5 and essentially said that Carney's made this bill a just trust me, guys. I know what I'm doing. You don't need to worry. Give me all the power and I'll take care of you. And she's saying this isn't right. They should be working through the summer. There's no need to rush this. What is it that the government is trying to hide from us?
Well, I think they want to have a big win before Canada Day. I think they want to free themselves from some of the laws that they feel currently impede their ability to greenlight projects fast. Some of the language could be tightened up to make the bill a lot less vague, and that would go a long way to quell some of the concerns. My concern is the precedent that it creates. This bill basically says that Cabinet can decide to just omit certain laws from consideration from applying. So this is basically, as one senator put it to me, trust me legislation. The government is saying, don't worry, because we're going to pass this law and we're going to enact it properly and your concerns are going to be allayed. Don't worry about it. But we are creating a framework that allows any government, it could be this government, it could be a future government, to just bypass the will of Parliament, to bypass laws that have been debated, in some cases over several years and passed, and to vest the power in one individual to say, these are the conditions or zero conditions I'm going to place on one project is rather insane, frankly. Like, imagine the corruption that could potentially be enabled by legislation like this. Like, it is so problematic that it deserves more than 2 days of study. Yep. It could easily sit through next week, the House, or the week after, so that the Senate can consider their amendments and have them approved by the House. There is no need to rush this because these projects are still going to take years to build. So taking the summer to get this right, it makes you wonder what is the rush? What does the government not want us to see?
Some might say that is $1 million question, but we all know it just boils down to control. If you look at the bills, Bill C2, where they're giving more power to the police, the border control, even Canada Post, where apparently now I can just tear open your mail and read it for whatever reason that they give me. Bill C5, the sweeping powers that we've been talking about for the past few days, as I mentioned, where they can just bypass a lot of these laws and acts and provisions. this EV mandate that they're trying to push forward, where they get to control what vehicle you're going to be driving in the next few years. That's all it comes down to, is just control, 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 and they're going to just try to suffocate us. But as always, I'd love to hear from you guys. Let me know what you thought about all this. If you can, please hit the subscribe button, share the video, like it, do all that fun stuff. I hope you guys all have a great weekend, and as always, I will catch you guys on the next one. Thanks so much.